Nadia, thank you so much for joining me today on the show. At last, we meet again.
Yes, a pleasure. It's a pleasure. I'm looking forward to this.
We've been threatening and trying to meet up. This is officially the most moved podcast I've ever had. So yeah, thanks for your time. So yeah, Nadia, I'm really excited to have you on the show today because you come with such a wealth of passion and experience in AI. And I was hoping to just pick your brain a little bit on behalf of me and myself and the listeners and viewers. But before we get too started, maybe just start by introducing yourself. I like to ask for your elevator pitch. So if I met you in an elevator and you had 3, 4 seconds, 5 seconds to tell me who you are before I get off at the next floor, who are you and what are you about? Maybe just introduce yourself.
Yeah, well, thank you. I am probably the worst person you'll ever interview for an elevator pitch because even I go all over the place. But I suppose I am a senior academic and I'm a marketing consultant, so I run them both in tandem. I'm the founder of the AI Collective, which is a global network of AI interested people, of which we have many specialists and experts in there. Our strapline is from school leaver to thought leader, so it encompasses anybody and everybody with an interest. And I'm also the co-founder of the Age of Human think tank, which I set up during COVID, actually, by coincidence. No, it wasn't a coincidence. It was part because of COVID was related to it. And that's a think tank that talks about putting the humanity at the center of business. We love tech, we embrace tech, but let's not forget that tech serves human and not the other way around.
Well, for the time being.
Oh God, here we go already.
So this is the horse we're riding right now. And
No.
Okay, well, that's amazing, Nadia. I am so blown away by, you and everything that you've been doing and everything you've been up to. I mean, you created 100 GPTs in 100 days. How did that go?
It's fun. It's I'm still chucking them out. Not quite at the same rate, but I do believe that a GPT is it's almost like it's part of your. My GPTs are reflective of me as a person. So I may be out having a walk. I might see something that attracts my attention, and I think, oh, I'm gonna study that a little bit more. I may be reading a book and think, it's a book about, I don't know, something. Let's say something to do with environmental issues, and I write a GPT for that book. So it helps me to interrogate that subject further, go to a music festival, go to GPT for that. So my GPTs are a way of expressing my inner thoughts, I suppose, delving deeper into subjects, and I've found them fun. I mean, a lot of people do Sudoku, do Wordle, do crosswords. I build GPTs.
So give me an example of, in the marketing space, some GPTs that you've built.
Well, I had a bit of a run on marketing GPTs a while ago, and I've moved on a fair bit since then. So let me try and remember. One that someone used the other day and came to a consultation with me, having lots of research, was something called my market research assistant, I think I call it, or my market research buddy. And I built that 4 months ago, and he's used it. He's a monk, actually, and he's looking at using AI and spirit and bringing AI and spirituality together. And he's used several of my GPTs, but the market research one that he referenced particular. My favorite one is at the moment, it's a bit like saying, who's your favorite child,
Exactly.
I feel a bit guilty saying this, but number 58, my formula maker, I can't remember if I called it formula maker or formula builder, and that basically allows me to look at a report. For example, you could share with me a 600-page PDF on the state of marketing in 21st century Britain, and I'll put that into my GPT, and I'll ask it to identify or to create formulae that can relate to the issues within the report. For example, I might say, can you put me a business case together for introducing, I don't know, direct marketing classes into secondary schools in the UK, and it will give you all of the rationale.
Wow.
What might make up a good argument, and then it will put in, ask you for any weightings. Is this argument stronger than that, etc., etc. And then it will create algebra, and then from the algebra it will then create the algorithm, or the formula, if you like. And then you go back in. The skill is to go back in and give it a scenario, and paint a scenario, tell it to use caveats, tell it to use assumptions, so long as it lists them, and then paint me this picture, and it will give you an illustration of how the formula will play out in such a scenario. And it is amazing. It's
wow.
Yeah, it's fun.
I think that's amazing. I'm definitely going to play with that one. We generate a lot of reports for a living. And we look at a lot of data, and I think that's definitely something that we need. That one is definitely high on my list to explore. So just practically speaking, we've got a lot of freelancers who watch your show, and what do you charge for a GPT? Are you just creating everything for free as part of your passion, or can somebody ask you to create GPTs? What do they go for? What's the going rate?
If it's commercial, I use a Calendly link, and I charge £250 an hour, and people can jump on there, and then we can generally build a GPT pretty quickly. Within an hour, we'll have a basis of a GPT, and then they can go away and polish it themselves or come back for some tweaks. I do a lot for charity. I do, and for worthy causes. I do quite a few. I teach for Cambridge Professional Academy. I teach for Roehampton University, and quite often I'll build a GPT for a student or for a bunch of students. But yeah, so if they want me to build a GPT commercially, then I just do an hourly rate, and see what damage we can do in an hour.
Yeah, awesome. I'll include all of your details in the description below. So hopefully you pick up some nice work from here. Talk to us about the AI Collective. So where did this come from, and what is it about?
Yeah, thank you. Well, I don't want to go too far back, but around about when I was a senior academic at a university in the north of England, and one of my graduates, an MBA graduate, a very good MBA graduate, came to me with an algorithm that he had developed, and it was for amateur sport. And this was 12 years ago, and he wanted me to help him commercialize it. There's not a lot of money in amateur sport in the UK. He was a brilliant marketer himself, so I didn't think I could do anything better than what he was already doing. And so I said, but if you change this methodology and apply it to a different market, I'd be interested. So it took us a year and a half, and we developed a new algorithm to help measure social media performance. And we launched that at Leeds Business Week in the north of England 10 years ago, I think. Salesforce sponsored that event, and Salesforce were my first client. They loved it. They loved the algorithm. They loved the methodology. And that indirectly led to me moving to London to become a brand director of one of their fastest growing partners in London. And that then led me to developing some events and some publications. I'd set up two new companies. One was a publishing company, one an events company, and then when COVID came, guess what? No more events, no more distribution for my amazing magazine that was going worldwide at a rapid rate. But so I had to pivot. hard ever use that word, but anyway, we had to pivot. And I reinvented myself as a marketing consultant, pretty much what I'd done before, but specifically in the Salesforce field, in the high tech field. And then somebody introduced me to ChatGPT. It was about the 3rd of November. It was only days into its launch. And because of my understanding of algorithms and what happened before, it was fairly quick for me to be able to grasp it. I then went into panic mode. I've got 3 children, 10,000 marketing graduates around the world. And I thought, oh my goodness, this is going to take our jobs. We're going to be, it's going to take my job. It's going to take my graduate job. And I asked a few people what they knew about ChatGPT and everything. And slowly but surely, people were sending me white papers, reports, opinion pieces. And I amassed all of this. I put it into a Trello board, put it into Mighty Network. And within about 3 months, I amassed a lot of information on AI and GPTs. And I decided to share it. So I set up the AI Collective LinkedIn group. As you know, LinkedIn doesn't work very much anymore, does it? Is it just me?
It's overtraded. I think everybody has LinkedIn fatigue.
Yeah.
I think because of and then we digress, but just quickly to pause in between brackets, I think everybody is selling because everybody's in recession and feeling the crunch. And it's become either people blowing their own horns a little too loudly or hard selling a little too hard. And then I think,
yeah, and it doesn't. It's not working as a platform for growing communities very well. It's been really, really hard to grow my LinkedIn.
LinkedIn groups are an absolute fail. It's one of the biggest missed opportunities of LinkedIn. Absolutely. Yeah. The groups are a fail. It's just a hard sell, pitch. You have to trawl through it to find any comments or anything of value. There's no traction. It's not built for groups, which is a bit sad.
So when I set up the Age of Human during COVID, we grew that very rapidly through LinkedIn and through groups. But this is a different experience now. So the AI Collective, though it hangs out on LinkedIn, I also move it across to the Mighty Network platform, which is a much more dynamic platform. And that's where we share resources. So if you want to see Mirella Laporta's brilliant 60-minute lecture on what is AI, which she did with the Royal Institute, or any other content of that caliber, you'll find it in there. We have subsets for clinical AI, agricultural AI, marketing, etc. I'm doing a lot for teachers and teaching. I'm passionate about we have to bring AI into classrooms, and we have to bring classrooms into AI.
Absolutely.
Easier said than done. I mean, Australia seems to be doing this very well. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because of its remoteness or it's more. If you look at Hofstede's cultural dimensions of the world, wrote it in about 68 or something, 66, 68. And Gert Hofstede said that you can break the world up into these different cultural characteristics. Some of us might call it stereotyping, which we're not supposed to do anymore. It's politically incorrect. But anyway, but there are certain characteristics of certain nations that make them less risk averse. I think Australia ticks that box, and they are advancing massively with AI in academia. The UK seems to be not as much. So my passion is to find the knowledge, absorb it, teach myself, share it, and democratize access, not just democratize AI, it's actually democratize access to fair and responsible AI. I want my younger self to be able to get access to AI and to use it for commercial and personal benefit. And that's the passion, and that's the direction we're going in.
Yeah, I think when AI sort of hit for me also, it was November last year, and
2 years ago.
2 years ago. And I felt that, exactly like you said, the initial fear and shock and horror and amazement and joy and appreciation. And then, but it's kind of become, status quo, and everybody's using it. And the initial wave, feel like, of, all the apps that then started, riding on and being powered by AI, and you can get an an AI powered app for almost any problem that you have now. I had someone contact me the other day telling me that they would do AI consulting, and all that they're doing is finding an app for my problem. They're not building anything. They're just finding tree-built apps. So what is your view now? Do you think that there's going to be further and further and further disruption? And is this just literally the first step change of the step that we're on? Where are we going from here?
Yes, I do. I think that you make reference there to the hype cycle, and the hype cycle seemed to be a few months ago, and it's sort of, do we call it the winter now? We're in the AI winter. I think I've heard expressions of. I think in some senses the excitement has moved on a little bit. So now we can get down to the real business, and we can start looking at how we can build real AI solutions, integrated end-to-end solutions, not just a quick fix sort of thing. I'll write you a poem using a chat GPT, great, and so what. But you can see now that, I'm integrating GPTs into GPTs, which makes them more sophisticated. To that point, though, I see GPT as a sort of, I hate to say it, the sort of larder, if you know your cars, or the little supermarket. It's not the top end. It's a low end VHS sort of version of AI for mass consumption. There are more sophisticated AI assistants out there now that I'm specifying, but for most of us who are just getting into AI and having a play, it's a good starting point. But I do think that we have a long way to go yet. I mean, did I see the report that 83% of government activities, or for the want of a better word, could be automated? That's the UK. 83% of what it does could be automated, saving massive amount of time. And when you look at our local authorities in the UK, it's broken. There's 20% of them at risk of going into the red. Universities in the UK have just lost 30% of their overseas students. It used to be was it the fourth biggest export for the UK was our education. I don't know what the numbers are now, but it'd be less than that. So there's lots of disruption. There's lots of ways in which we can use automation and/or AI. But then quantum's 4 years away, max, maybe 2 years away. And so I think we're going to get into quantum before we've even figured out what AI is in a lot of cases.
It's funny that I don't think everybody's been waiting for AI to become AI, and I don't think anybody expected it when it hit. It's almost like VR and AR. Facebook Meta has been trying to play in the VR AR space and create things, and it's almost like the market's just not being ready for it. Whereas I think AI and VR are, kind of one. I was thinking the other day, it would be great if I had a pair of glasses and I could click a button and to medieval setting, and everything I look at, because of AI and because of VR and AR, everything I look at then just changes to medieval or apocalypse view, because that's my absolute passion, is anything apocalypse. Like, I just want to see the world as an apocalypse and people as zombies.
Wow.
I mean, there's so much that can be done that I don't think we've experienced yet in terms of entertainment and immersion. I do think that, we will eventually not leave our beds and just be plugged into AI, VR, AR, take the chip in the forehead, sell our souls, and yeah. But I think for now, I think people have lost a bit of the fear for their jobs, but I do think that there has been an impact in jobs, and obviously it's coincided with the fact that there is pretty much a global recession happening at the moment. But I see AI as, now we can do more work. Now, instead of doing this much work in a day, you can do this much work in a day. It shouldn't be taking your job. It shouldn't be taking anybody's jobs. Instead of, looking for images that all look like stock images, now you can create beautiful images using Midjourney, and they're all unique. Okay, slightly weird and LSD-ish, but so what would you say is your top marketing AI solution tool that you found?
Oh, crikey. I think it's here. It's in my head. It was already
Wow.
there. It was already there. It's just AI's brought it out. So I've always written.
I
I
love
write
that.
poetry. I write. I'd love to write music, but I couldn't. But I can now, because I use audio and I put my words to it. I write. So I think AI has been used to bring out what was within me. I'm very. I'm I'm moving beyond AI, and I'm moving into hybrid intelligence. Um, and can I speak a little bit about what I mean about hybrid intelligence?
Yeah, go for it.
So,
Yes.
are you familiar with the term?
Yes, you tagged me in an article.
Ah, right, right.
Yeah.
So now, I am not an expert in hybrid intelligence, but I think it's not that difficult to understand
Mm.
that you have in a Venn diagram. It's the easiest Venn diagram you'll ever draw. There's artificial intelligence, there's human intelligence, and then the crossover in the middle is hybrid. The challenge that we have, I'm working with a couple of professors on a tool to bring AI into organizations through a sprint methodology. So it's, instead of taking 5 days or 5 weeks to bring AI into an organization, we can do it in 2.5 days using this super smart AI supported sprint mechanism. Now that's great because that if you look at a university, for example, it goes, okay, we need to get into AI and we need to hurry up. Just before this call, I was supervising a master's dissertation. I can tell you now, 70% at least of that dissertation was written using AI. And I've had a harsh word with that student, I can tell you now. And I'm pro AI, but I'm not pro rip off. You've still got to
Mm.
do it on. But I think with hybrid, the challenge will be not so much as bringing AI in as merging AI with the human intelligence that's in there and creating this hybrid intelligence. So it's about augmenting the human capability rather than replacing it. Now that is strategic. That's not going to happen unless you have an intent. And if your intent is not to fire anybody, not to get rid of anybody, but to bring AI in, but we have a golden rule, we're not going to get rid of anybody, that will totally change the way in which you accommodate AI.
I think you've hit the nail on the head because when you were talking earlier, I remember once going into a very large South African bank and speaking to them about digital banking. And they were discussing buying a separate digital bank, who had already done all the R&D in blah, blah, blah. They were potentially buy the digital bank. It turns out when they did the research internally, there were 4 divisions inside that bank who had been investigating digital banking. All of them failed because of job protection. So what I understood was that the employees were protecting their own careers, protecting their own jobs, and as a result, they didn't want the bank to succeed, and they self-sabotaged it. And I think that's exactly what you have just hit the nail on the head with, because I was thinking there is a very large element of sabotage that happens when an employee is afraid that this is going to take my job. And so they want to prove that it fails and, oh, look, you do need me. So I think what you've said is absolutely key. If you're going to do the two and get the two to work together, you need to have that kind of a commitment. And it's not about getting rid of the humans. It's about letting the humans do more, because now the AI is doing the heavy lifting and you can focus on X, Y, and Z. So I think that is I think the people whose jobs are at risk, obviously, are the ones who are not doing anything of strategic value and they are doing only heavy lifting jobs. What are they going to do once the AI is doing all the manual data input, reporting. I mean, that's, yeah, a lot of the stuff is
Well,
so they,
yeah, can I just jump in? If we've got this right, if we're right that it's about augmentation and not replacement, and I think history will prove you right that we slow things down because it's going to take our job, so we don't want to promote it. But imagine what it's like working in the university. I tell you now, I mean, no disrespect to those institutions that I'm working with, but there's a significant percentage of the academic staff who see it as a threat. They haven't woken up to ChatGPT for '04 or 40, kind of get it mixed up, but it was only the last term of the British academic cycle where 40 was brought in. And already by September, when we go back as en masse, you'll find that students are using for freely now.
yeah.
Ahead of it's the first time in living history ever, first time ever, that academia is no longer linear. It's the first time that a 16-year-old is not going to be more educated than an 8-year-old. If you've got an 8-year-old child and you're tucking that child into bed, you don't tuck 8-year-olds into bed, do you? But you're tucking a 4-year-old into bed, as I do with, occasionally with my granddaughter, or daughters, grandchildren. I don't read bedtime stories to them anymore. I ask them to tell me what they've done that day, and they might have fallen out of a tree. They've been chasing a cat. They've been stroking a dog. We put it all into a ChatGPT, and we say, "Can you create as a story?" And ChatGPT, a short story. You put your limits on it. Put some parameters. Put some context in there, and then can you turn this short story into a mid-journey image? Can we now turn this into a 90-second video? Oh, and before we turn the lights out, can we turn it into a rap? I love doing
wow.
raps with my grandchildren. And seriously, in 20-minute bedtime, we've gone from what did you do today to having a story, a book cover, a video, and a rap. Now,
Wow, that's
my
insane.
4-year-old granddaughter or grandchildren, by the time they're 6, they're going to be more. If we continue, and this is fun, this is not education. I'm not trying to turn them into gurus, but by the time they are 6 or 8, they're going to be further on than a 16-year-old doing traditional schoolwork. So the linear process of education is gone. I don't hear people talking about it, but it's broken. It's broken. And a good example of that is when you go to university, if your tutors are not more knowledgeable than you when you go to university, then what's the point in going to university?
Wow.
But we can be polymaths. You go to Perplexity, ask Perplexity about, I don't know, quantum physics, and within 4 days of interrogating Perplexity, putting some ideas into ChatGPT, building a GPT to support your new learning, you can create Perplexity books now, digital content. So we have to sort this out. We have to wake up. We have to change teaching and assessment. Assessment has got to be more a case of a student teaching us what they know, rather than us trying to teach them what they didn't know.
I mean, that's the big challenge. It's disrupted everything so dramatically that I don't think anybody has really been able to keep up with it, especially education. I mean, you don't need to go to university or do any college courses anymore, because if you know the questions to ask, and ChatGPT or GPT will tell you the questions to ask, and you can actually create all your own learning content. You just need a little bit of gumption, as with anything. But I think the challenge for me is that in learning and in being forced to learn and in being forced to research and read and write and create and type, the information goes in, so when you are learning with GPT assisted learning, is the learning as deep, as profound, and does it go into the brain and create deep grooves and strong, connections, the way it does with the traditional old-fashioned way?
There's I work with a wonderful learning specialist called Jackie Bryant, and Jackie has developed a methodology for retraining the brain. And basically, if you get to the brain before the eyesight gets the brain, the theory is that you can cause new pathways. Jackie will comment on what you've just mentioned there. She will say, um, I'm rubbish at paraphrasing the people. I'm struggling to get my own things out of my own head. But I'm sure she said to me recently that we are reaching that situation where we can give answers, but we can't give the reasons behind those answers, and we need to accommodate that. So mechanically, we're not mechanically learning, if you like. I've forgotten what phrase it is, but it is definitely a different learning experience. We might be able to answer multiple choice questions much easier in another year or two from now, but does that mean to say that we're any more intelligent than we were, or that we can solve problems any better? Probably not, but there's no stopping it. There's no stopping it.
No, there's no stopping it. I mean, the cat is out of the bag. And when you talk about augmentation, we're not even talking about the embedding of ChatGPT inside human brains, and that true augmentation, which I believe is coming. Okay, so let's talk about some of the biggest challenges that you've seen that marketers face when integrating AI into their strategies or into their thought processes.
Yeah, I think the biggest challenges that marketers face, I don't think it's so much the marketers as the customer. I think we as marketers, we're the perfect people to take AI into the organizations. Why is that? Well, that's because we're quite adept at using tools. You know, we know that marketing's complex. There's a lot to, you know. So AI is another. I love this expression. Somebody said to me that using a hammer is not a strategy. You know, a hammer is a tool. It's not a strategy. And so, you know, using AI is not a strategy, it's a tool. So you still need that strategic mindset. So change management, marketers. I think the biggest challenge though that we face is the resistance to the audit. Every organization needs to just stop for a day, and let's reinvent ourselves with this new electricity has just arrived. Blow up the candles and let's start again with electricity. And that means that, you know, we're going to get rid of the horse and cart, and we're going to actually get a vehicle. You know, it's that significant. We need to change dramatically. Do you ever come across people that use things like digital first strategies? You ever come across that expression?
Mobile first, yes.
Yeah. That's another example. So I'm sort of thinking, you know, AI first. You know, let's think AI first, and what does that mean? But the challenge is to get the whole organization to embrace it and to accept it.
It has to come from the top, and it has to be accepted from the bottom. I think everybody has to understand the potential value and benefits for everybody.
Yes.
And I think that those who adapt the fastest will survive. It's about cost cutting. It's about better service. It's about better customer experiences. It's about, a more personalized experience for all your customers. There are only wins across the board. And potentially, you know, really forward-thinking companies can say, well, look, we saved time. You would have been working a full day. Now let's go to a 4-day work week. And knock on in pay. The good companies will say no negative impact on your salary.
Yeah. It's a 4-day week. Let's get on with it.
Exactly.
Instead of calling it digital first, why don't we call it a 4-day week strategy?
Yes.
Then you get people buy into that, because they can then see, oh, that means that affects me. I'll do everything I can to support a 4-day week.
A DAI week, a 4-day week spelled DAI.
You can take the marketing out the go, but not the go on marketing.
Hashtag no GPT, like on the
You heard it first here, folks.
I heard it first there. So many quotable quotes. I mean, I love this, from school leaders to thought leaders. You're just coming up with all these things like a dime a dozen. AI socialist, that's something that you've called yourself. What are you referring to?
Yeah, well, actually, somebody else called me that. So there's a guy that I started doing an MSc with at a university 20 odd years ago, I think. I lose track of time. Yeah, 20. And then he reappeared about 3 months ago and he called to me, maybe 6 months ago. And he said, "Oh, I've been following you on LinkedIn, and how are you doing all these years since we last met?" And he says, "I see that you're I told him about the AI Collective, and he's very commercial. He was talking to me about some deal with so many notes on the end of it. I fell asleep listening to how many bloody notes. And then he said, and I clearly wasn't interested in this massive opportunity that he was pulling out of some carrier bag from somewhere. And he sort of came to the conclusion that I'm an AI socialist, and he paused, and he almost said it insultingly, actually. He's like, "Oh, you're not for me, you're an AI socialist." And I thought, you know what? I quite like that.
You actually are.
I think I wouldn't like being an AI socialist. I mean, I'd still like to, it doesn't mean I don't make any money out of it, but I want to bring everybody with me. I want to bring people with me. And we've set up the time banking, the AI time bank, which is a facility to say, look, I'll give you an hour of my time. If you give an hour of your time to somebody else, don't necessarily give it to me, give it to somebody else. And that's how the world goes round. So I will instruct somebody who runs a community project on how best to use AI. And they might go and do somebody's shopping for them who wouldn't otherwise be able to go shop, and et cetera, et cetera. So it's another form of
sort of paying it forward means bartering.
Yeah.
That's actually very nice. Bartering for good, almost.
Yeah. It's
well, I think it's lovely. I mean, I think, to his point, most people are AI capitalists trying to ride it and make as much as they can. And I think it's awesome that you are democratizing it and demystifying it to the masses and for the masses. I think we've already spoken about how, in the context of digital marketing and thought leadership, how AI has changed the industry. And what do you think that companies can do to be on the forefront? So give me, because we've spoken a lot about companies adopting AI, but give me 2 or 3 or even just one thing that every company should do today. In terms of, like, if I was a CEO, I said, but how, but where, but what? There's so much. It's so broad. It's how long is a piece of string. So give me one practical way that a small, medium, and large company can adopt AI.
Okay, I'm going to give you 3.
Go for it.
Right, because I have a process. Yes. And I'm launching it at our conference in October, 22nd, 23rd of October, which hopefully, hopefully you'll come to. Be brilliant if you come. It's in central London. So basically, what would a CEO or a vice chancellor of a university or somebody in charge of a religion, a church, whatever, what should somebody in leadership do? Number 1, I believe in this order. Number 1 is do an AI readiness audit. So how AI ready are we? How AI capable are we? Doesn't matter if you're a 1 out of 10. Doesn't matter if you're a 0 out of 10. Just go through the process of understanding what your AI capability is as an individual and as an organization. So that's number 1. And we have a tool to do that. Number 2 is then to identify your AI champions. So if you are a medium-sized company, 250 employees, you've got your safeguarding, you've got your first aid, you've got health and safety. Who's your AI person? And identify who that AI champion is. I can explain what that might look like, but it's that could take longer. It doesn't necessarily need to be somebody who's built one GPT. it's somebody who's overall in charge of the AI implementation across the organization. So they've got to have some authority, and they've got to have a broad remit. Otherwise, you're going to get silos, and silos are not good. And then the third thing is to put together an implementation. Well, we call it an implementation. I forgot what I said it earlier. A sprint, an AI sprint, and the idea, you know what sprints are from tech.
Yeah.
If you look at an organization and say, okay, we know we're only a 4 out of 10. Our competitors are 6 out of 10, and we can see that they're growing, they're benefiting from it. We need to improve our AI capability. We need to find who those champions are, and it can be more than one. So we go through that process. Now we need to enable them to implement AI across the organization, and we need to have a strategy to do that. So that's your AI sprint. And by using AI to do an AI sprint, you are quadrupling your efficiency. What might have taken you a month, 2 weeks, a week of consultations, you can now do in a fraction of the time. And then the implementation of it can be quicker because you build a GPT for that department. They have an AI assistant in that one. They have a super duper premium product in that, customer facing, etc. So you got lots of different AI solutions that are integrated around the organization fit for purpose, not one size fits all, because there's lots of different applications. Can I just reflect on the problems with AI in marketing? And I missed the opportunity of saying this. I'm envisaging a situation where we're all going to have some AI capability. So let's say you are a manufacturing company with a small marketing team of 8. You're the CEO of the company. You've learned a little bit about AI. You Friday night, you're at home, you're having a cup of tea or whatever your favorite beverage is on a Friday night, and you decide that you're going to make a mid-journey image that summarizes the values of your organization. And it's a brilliant Salvador Dali type construction, a bit LSD or whatever it is. And you put it out on social media because you built something. It's great. And what we're going to find, I think, is that there's going to be too much content that is going to be coming through the cracks in an organization that's not coming through the marketing department. It could get out of control. So the marketing department needs to encourage AI, but also filter it. Bring it in.
Social media policies in place that cover AI and AI content creation.
Yes.
Yeah. Because AI can have a darkness to it that I don't think a lot of brands want to be associated. It can have this weirdness, especially image creation and stuff like that. I'm seeing just so much AI video like on YouTube Shorts, and it's just like when it starts with, this guy had a dog and that dog walked a mile. It's, oh my goodness, I can't even handle it. I think that as a consumer and as a marketer, the amount of content has just gone through the roof, because now you can create content in 5 seconds. Anyone can create content. And I think the quality and the authenticity are completely lacking. And so I think now we're going back to creating authentic content. And it's always been about authenticity. I think authenticity is always, as a marketer, your true north. It's got to be real. It's got to be authentic. The minute it starts to become fake, like we were talking about social LinkedIn becoming too trumpety, and when it becomes too fake or self-aggrandizing or false humility, like, I'm so grateful for this new job. I'm so grateful that I'm doing better than you. I think I think that as a marketer, if you keep your content authentic and keep that as your true north and honest and real, you'll probably create better content and more loyal customers. But it's harder to create content like that.
It's a hybrid approach. Just keep that human in the loop. Don't sack your creative agency. You need your creative agency more than ever.
Exactly.
But you can, productivity will go up. But yes, it needs to be managed because there'll be much more content coming from all over the place. And I think trust is, I'm hearing at the conferences I attend, the business meetings I'm going to, trust is, we've never really had a problem, such an endemic problem with trust. We might have a problem in politics with trust, certainly in the UK. But in business, I don't think there's been that big a problem with trust. I think we genuinely trust people. If someone, but now how can you trust that proposal that you just received? How can you trust that marketing campaign that you've just seen on YouTube? That advert, is it original? Does it do what it says on the can? And that's going to have a very negative impact on the industry. Because we'll get blamed for that. Marketers will get blamed for the lack of trust in society that's being perpetrated by reckless marketers who aren't trained, qualified, and haven't done the CIM advanced course in AI marketing. There's a plug, written by yours truly.
I think I love that we're finishing this off on the note of authenticity and trust. Trust is currency. If you can put trust in your bank account, you can take it to the bank. Trust is everything that you spend years and years and years building: your brand authenticity, your brand ethos, your brand values. And so I think maybe that's the note that we need to end off on, is to say, marketers, don't create any content that erodes trust. Use AI as your slave, but definitely don't let it be the master.
Yeah, sign up to a charter. In the Age of Human, we have a wonderful charter. I think it's a 16-point charter, and our members sign up to it. I wrote a vow of positivity for AI. It's on nadio.ai. It's on my website there. I've got to say, I'm probably a little bit less positive today than I was when I wrote it nearly a year ago. But we need to sign up to a vow of trust with AI, because the opposite is just unthinkable, really.
Yeah. No, completely agreed.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I'm passionate about save prompts, save water, save lives. There's a massive problem with the amount of water consumption or energy consumption in the amount of tech that we're using already, never mind as AI becomes more devolved. Did you know that crypto uses 100 times more water, for example, than Google? Google used 20% more water last year than the year before. Don't quote me on those figures, but it's in there sort of realm. So my passion is to enable people to use AI, use it efficiently. Less prompts, saves water, and ultimately will save lives. You'll see a dissertation coming out shortly. I'm supervising a brilliant master's dissertation on that subject. If you're looking for more on that, look up Jerry McGovern. Jerry McGovern is on LinkedIn. He's an absolute anti-AI campaigner, anti-digital campaigner. And as much as I am pro-AI, I listen to him. I think he makes some very good points, much of which we can educate people around. If we can be more educated on how to use AI responsibly and more efficiently, it will address some of the problems with consumption or overconsumption. Data waste. We've got a world that's just filling up with data waste because we produce too much data, but doesn't cost. I don't know what our pop stars are called these days. Who's the number one pop star? what's she called?
Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift. So when she puts something out on Instagram, the spike in the amount of energy consumption as the rest of the world watches that on Instagram, but she doesn't pay for it. I don't pay for it. Somebody somewhere is paying for that energy consumption, and there's no accountability for it. So, you know, these are stuff. Yeah, it's an area that I'm trying to educate my students in.
I don't think that's an angle that's being considered much. I most certainly haven't really considered that and I think that is incredibly valuable because we need a Netflix documentary. Is there a Netflix documentary? Because I've watched the ones about, you know, the impact of, large scale agriculture on the environment. Yes. And I think if we all need to be vegan, and then we all need to issue social media in order to save water. I don't think that has ever crossed my mind. And so the dissertation that my students are doing at the moment is on brand. I'll actually, we'll send you the survey if that's okay. Yeah, please do.
It's on brand, and if your customer knew about your footprint, your carbon footprint, would you still use that brand?
Damn. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. And that was she's in the AI Collective. Jerry is a member of the AI Collective. So that's what the AI Collective can do. We can have these conversations that they're not political, they're not happening in government, you know, they're happening in a real life community that's got no commercial gain. We're just genuinely interested in the shit that's happening on our planet, and we need to get it sorted.
I love it. So guys, get a hold of Nadio if you are looking for an AI consultant. Join the AI Collective. Go on his website, check out his GPTs, and definitely, subscribe to all of his podcasts. I think, Nadio, you're certainly someone to keep close because I think you've got your fingers on the pulse when it comes to AI. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. And hope to see you at our conference in October. I'll send you an invite.
I'll be there.
Thank you,
Nadia. Yes, everybody's invited. Have a good one. Thanks, Nadia. Thanks, listeners. Bye.